Hi and welcome to The Print. My name is Karanjeet Kaur. I'm a journalist and an editor. Let's talk today about two books about Goan homes and the stories they tell us. We begin with Maria Teresa Colasso, whose memory flowed like the Mandovi, sometimes clear and sometimes opaque, but always in motion. In her later years, the nonagenarian was afflicted with dementia. Yet, propelled by something deeper than cognition, she longed only to return home to Solar dos Colassos, her palatial riverfront house. Last year, she passed away in the house where she had spent 9 decades. It is this profound connection between people and place that Ulka Chauhan explores in her new photography book. The Memory Keepers and Future Seekers is the latest homage to Goan homes and their role as vessels of cultural memory. Chauhan's journey into these homes began, ironically, when she found herself locked down in her own childhood home in Mumbai during the pandemic. Having lived abroad for 2 decades, this enforced stillness sparked a meditation on belonging, which eventually led her to Goa's heritage houses. Chauhan read photographer Prabuddha Dasgupta's landmark book, Edge of Faith, which is an intimate interior look at Goa's Catholic community. She told me, "The photographs were so soulful, it led me to want to explore these homes from the inside, having only ever seen them from the outside. Something inexplicable drew me to them. I was capturing the homes, but in a way, the homes captured me." What started as a personal exploration, initially documented for an international photo festival in Switzerland, has since evolved into a visual narrative of 6 ancestral homes. Recently launched at the Goa Arts and Literature Festival, Chauhan's somber photographs, accompanied by contemplative essays by art writer Samira Sheth, move beyond documentation. Through these photos, we don't enter these spaces as tourists, but as witnesses to living history, where Belgian crystal chandeliers cast their glow on furniture carved with scenes from the Ramayana, where private chapels coexist with Hindu iconography. The power of Chauhan's photographs lies in their quiet restraint. She chooses to capture these homes and the people who belong to them in available light. Shadows pool in the corners and sunlight filters through oyster shell windows, creating what she calls a moody, poetic quality. This approach is particularly moving in her images of Solar dos Colassos, where Maria Teresa's shrinking world is framed. In one striking image, the mansion's long dining table stretches emptily before us. At the table, where Maria Teresa is seated alone, 20 people once dined together comfortably. Now, the only human presence in the room is found in the ancestral portraits carefully arranged along the walls. Several of Chauhan's photographs are weighted by absence. In the homes she documents, a delicate negotiation between preservation and change unfolds. Nowhere is this more poignantly encapsulated than in the Disa Condillac house, where a simple rope hangs along the stairs. Not an architectural flourish, but a necessity for the aging residents. This interplay between past and present is also visible in the Fernandez home, where the spatial arrangement itself tells a story of cultural synthesis. An interior angan, which is typical of Hindu homes here, opens next to a Catholic altar, silent testaments to Goa's syncretic heritage. These are living spaces where history continues to unfold through daily rituals and adaptations. Nicole Ann Lobo writes in the book's opening essay, "Of course, any speculation of this nature raises the risk of archaeologizing a resoundingly living culture. The traditions of Goan families remain vibrant, imbued with vitality, even and especially in the homes found in this book. For Goans are too often caricatured in critical writing and public discourse, seen simply, derogatorily as hybrid, or the products of forced conversions, denied agency about the customs they have chosen for themselves, the forms of resilience and identities forged in the face of colonial rule." A respectful look at culture, however, isn't always a bad thing. Heta Pandit is a heritage activist and author of 11 books, whose work in documenting Goan homes spans 4 decades. In her 2022 book, Stories from Goan Houses, she offers us a different perspective on these spaces. Working with photographer Daniel D'Souza, Pandit captures vibrant lived-in spaces across Goa, accompanied by sunny essays about the people who inhabit them. Pandit told me, I don't always write for the reader or viewer. I write for the houses. I want people to see and admire the beauty that they hold literally in the palms of their hands, a beauty they inhabit and cohabit. Where Chauhan's photographs are hushed and meditative, Pandit's documentation is intentionally luminous. The brightness, the cheerfulness, it's a deliberate choice, she told me, as was the decision to feature Hindu houses. In 1998, when Pandit worked on Houses of Goa, co-authored with architect Annabel Mascarenhas, they had no access to Hindu houses because they did not know enough people in Goa. All that changed over 2 decades. Stories from Goan houses is now chock full of legends, everyday rituals, and granular details about the objects that give a home its soul. My favorite entry is the Harwalkar house in Brahma Karmali, precisely because it's not the cupcake you would encounter in a conventional photography book. Harwalkar house is the home of Lakshmi and Vishnu, a working-class couple. Vishnu makes palm frond brooms, while Lakshmi was an agricultural worker. Their home is simple and sparse, a complete departure from the grandeur and lushness of other featured houses. Pandit had written about Lakshmi in her earlier books, including Grinding Stories, Songs from Goa. She told me, one of the sweetest experiences has been at their home. When I asked Lakshmi what was to become of the songs she sings once she's gone, she smiled and said, that is why you write books, no? There is something distinctive about the Goan relationship with built heritage that sets it apart from other parts of India. Elsewhere, families may maintain deep ties to ancestral lands, to the idea of belonging to a particular village or town, but the physical structures themselves often become expendable. Old Havelis give way to modern apartments, traditional courtyard homes are replaced by more practical constructions. In Goa, however, the attachment is to the very bones of these houses. This devotion manifests in the painstaking maintenance of these spaces, often against considerable odds. It's present in the careful restoration of weather-beaten wood, in the gentle accommodation of modern necessities, without compromising a home's essential character. These are acts of love, complicated by the very real challenges of maintaining centuries-old structures in a changing and tropical world. Yet, for many Goan families, the labor is inseparable from the love. Pandit said that this impulse isn't just a Goan thing. She refers to her own Parsi lineage, where homes and collections hold a very special place. When she bought her house in Saligaon in 2008, she converted the old kitchen into her bedroom. She said, the old sink with the date of construction roughly scratched out is now my prayer table. I have surrounded myself with my own memorabilia here. My heart beats at an even pace here in this nook. Perhaps this is what preserving a home truly means in the Goan context. The need to have an ongoing dialogue with memory itself. Through Chauhan and Pandit's books, we see that these homes contain multitudes, and that home isn't always about inhabiting a space, but about allowing it to inhabit you.